The New South Wales Government's fire sale of the state's electricity assets may prove to be the final indignity for Premier Christina Keneally, just 2 months out from an election widely expected to end 16 years of Labor rule. In the past week, a parliamentary inquiry has revealed last month's sale could reap less than $500 million for the state, well below the $5.3 billion first trumpeted by the government. The inquiry is expected to decide later this week whether to have 8 former board directors from the state's 2 biggest power companies arrested and forced to give evidence on why they were so alarmed by the sale they resigned en masse. Deborah Cornwall reports.
Morning.
What are you hiding, Christina? What are you trying to hide? What are you trying to hide? What are you covering up?
I'm asking you to apply your mind to the question and answer the question that's put to you.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. I acknowledge that I underestimated the level of interest in the committee.
Premier, that's not answering the question with respect to
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
This inquiry, though, is about getting to the bottom of that stinking, steaming mess.
My interest is to act in the best interest of the taxpayer, and I will not have retention value or anything.
You're a lying clown and you're a disgrace. An absolute disgrace.
Let's remove that person.
After 16 years in power, there's a certain unhinged quality to these last dying days of Labor government in New South Wales.
We're now just over a month before the government goes formally into caretaker mode. What keeps me awake at night is the damage that Christina Keneally and Eric Rusendale can still do to the state before they go into a period where they're no longer able to make the sorts of crazy, incompetent and misdirected decisions we've seen in recent times.
The desperate midnight scramble to sell off the state's multi-billion-dollar electricity assets last month at fire sale prices has been universally condemned as a monumental blunder.
The scheme is fundamentally a corrupted scheme, and it's not second best or third best. It's so bad that, if Parliament were sitting today, I think you would see the deal stymied and stopped.
The sale so alarmed 8 board directors of the 2 state power companies sold off in the deal, they resigned en masse last month. But those same directors now face the prospect of being arrested and forced to appear at a parliamentary inquiry into the sale after refusing to give evidence without legal indemnity.
Well, it's out of control. It is ludicrous. Nobody in the history of the New South Wales government has been compelled to answer without legal immunity.
In fact, none of the witnesses appearing before the inquiry into the sale have any of the usual protections of parliamentary privilege, a result of the Premier's decision to shut down Parliament just 1 day after the sale went ahead. It appeared a deliberate attempt to gag the critics, but the Premier insists it was just bad judgment.
I acknowledge that I'd made a mistake in underestimating the level of public interest in this transaction and the need for scrutiny prior to the state election. Now, anyone can make a mistake.
That mistake has led to a standoff between the Premier and the inquiry.
Will you not provide them with an indemnity?
No, I won't, because I won't put
You've got a lot to hide, haven't you?
But it hasn't stopped the inquiry revealing profits from the sale may be as little as $340 million, just a fraction of the $5.3 billion first trumpeted by the government.
Now, because it does leave the state with residual risks, but they're not new risks.
It doesn't de-risk the state.
It doesn't de-risk the state in the same way.
Under pressure, even the Treasury Secretary Michael Sherr conceded there were serious flaws in the government's so-called gen trader model.
The gen trader option is the next best option available to the state.
It's the same model that was rejected by Cabinet as a dud under Premier Morris Yema 2 years ago, just before Yema was drummed out of the premiership by faction warlords after his own energy privatisation plan was blocked by the Parliament. The plan which would have reaped the state $15 billion, critical funds for the state's long-neglected infrastructure, in particular Sydney's congested roads and crumbling public transport system.
It's burning the villages on the way out. It's a scorched earth policy. They didn't want Barry O'Farrell to come in a position where he could sell the electricity assets for $15 billion, to have all that money to spend to keep himself in office for 12 years. They wanted to trash it. I mean, they deny it, absolutely, but the New South Wales Labor right machine is the most ruthless political machine in the country, without a doubt.
We had a generational opportunity to start to deal with the many shortfalls in infrastructure right across New South Wales. That opportunity has been squandered because we got the model wrong and because the government pursued it with reckless abandon to get it done.
The blue line represents
the State Treasurer spent the past week manfully defending the sale with whiteboards and flowcharts.
We took the advice at the time, under the circumstances some 2 years ago. It was the best option available to the government to undertake energy reform, to protect the people of New South Wales from having to fund future power stations, to protect the state's AAA credit rating. It was the best available option that we had.
Even if this deal had some merit, voters aren't listening. The latest poll shows a complete wipeout for Labor in the March election. If they're lucky, they'll hold on to just 20 seats. But at this stage, it's looking more like 13. The opposition has promised to do what it can to unscramble the sale once in government. But while Liberal leader Barry O'Farrell may well be the new big white hope of the side, he'll also have to live with the fact that it was the opposition that actually stopped Premier Yema's energy reforms going ahead in 2008.
No one is going to come out of this with clean hands. The situation in New South Wales now is a government in waiting. No one cares what Christina Keneally says she's going to do. Such is the feeling that this is going to be a massive victory to the Liberal Party.
Deborah Cornwall with that report.